Broken wings still fly, transforming wounds into wisdom. Have you ever noticed how we're drawn to the broken things? The cracked pottery mended with gold, the weathered hands that tell stories without words, the voice that breaks at just the right moment in a song. There's something about brokenness that speaks to us, something that whispers, "This is where the light gets in." I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Sherita White on a Soft Girl Era podcast, and I'm still vibrating with the energy of that conversation. When I tell you this woman is a force of nature disguised as human form, I'm not being hyperbolic. Sharita is literally transforming the landscape of healing for Black women through her revolutionary work, creating accessible mental health resources where there were none, authoring soul stirring books on spiritual healing, and building literary spaces that foster community transformation. Her impact extends far beyond individual healing. She's creating ripples that will transform generations. What struck me most about our conversation wasn't just what she's accomplished, it was how she's accomplished it by turning her deepest wounds into wisdom that serves others. And that's what I want to talk about today. How our wounds, contrary to what society tells us, don't disqualify us from purpose. They're often the very birthplace of it. We live in a culture obsessed with perfection, don't we? Filtered photos, curated feeds, highlight reels masquerading as real life. The message is clear: hide your scars, mask your pain, cover your flaws. It's exhausting, isn't it? This constant performance of okayness when we're anything but okay. But what if we've been getting it all wrong? What if our wounds aren't something to hide, but something to honor? What if the very places we've been broken are precisely where our greatest contributions will emerge? During my interview with Sharita, she shared something that stopped me in my tracks. As a breast cancer survivor, the wife of a disabled veteran, and a mother of three children, she intimately understands how mental health can be impacted by the multiple roles and responsibilities women carry. But instead of hiding these challenges or minimizing them with toxic positivity, she transformed them into a self love workbook and journal that now serves as both a personal healing tool and a guide for others navigating difficult life transitions. Think about that for a moment. The very experiences that could have defined her as a victim became the foundation for resources that are helping countless others reclaim their narratives. This isn't just inspirational, it's instructional. Because here's what I've come to believe: your wounds don't disqualify you from purpose, they prepare you for it. Your divorce, that's not just heartbreak, that's expertise and resilience. Your financial struggle, that's not just hardship, that's a masterclass in resourcefulness. Your health crisis, that's not just suffering, that's a PhD in compassion. Sharita's book, Unwinged, powerfully illustrates this principle. It navigates the complex terrain of early maternal loss, growing up in the shadow of Chicago street culture, and the generational trauma that often accompanies such experiences. Through vivid reflection and spiritual insight, she invites readers into a space of healing and faith, painting a powerful contrast between brokenness and restoration. The result? Readers find themselves represented in her journey, discovering that their own broken wings can still carry them toward purpose and healing. The book has created a community of readers who are learning to transform their generational wounds into wings of purpose, as Sharita describes in her core message. But here's where it gets even more powerful: healing isn't just a personal journey, it's a collective responsibility. Sharita's work extends beyond her own writing to creating cultural spaces where Black literature and history can facilitate healing. Many individuals carrying generational trauma lack access to stories that reflect their experiences and offer pathways to healing, particularly within Black communities. By contributing to cultural hubs that celebrate rich Canadian Black history and powerful literature, Sharita helps create welcoming environments where healing conversations can happen. These literary spaces become more than bookstores. They transform into communities where individuals find representation, validation, and tools for their own healing journeys. The ripple effect extends to families and communities as individuals discover how to break cycles of trauma through narrative and connection. This is what happens when we stop hiding our wounds and start honoring them. They become bridges to others who are suffering. They become lanterns in dark places. They become the very foundation of communities built on authenticity rather than pretense. I want to pause here and acknowledge something important. This isn't easy work. Transforming pain into purpose isn't some Instagram worthy journey that happens overnight between green smoothies and gratitude journals. It's not a neat 3 step process or a weekend workshop. It's messy, it's non-linear. It often involves therapy, tears, and tough conversations. It requires us to look unflinchingly at patterns we've inherited and consciously choose different paths forward. Sometimes it means setting boundaries with people who aren't ready for our healing. Sometimes it means grieving what we never received. But as Sharita's work demonstrates, it's worth it, not just for ourselves, but for everyone our lives touch. Because here's the truth: healing is contagious. When you heal, you create possibility for others. When you transform your narrative, you give others permission to rewrite theirs. When you honor your wounds instead of hiding them, you create spaces where others can do the same. Faith and authenticity create the foundation for true transformation. Sharita's approach to healing embraces both spiritual growth and raw honesty about life's hardships, showing that genuine transformation requires both elements. This isn't about toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing. It's about holding space for both the pain and the possibility. It's about acknowledging the reality of trauma while refusing to let it have the final word. So, what does this mean for you? How do you begin transforming your wounds into wisdom? First, begin documenting your own healing journey. Whether through journaling, voice notes, or creative expression, start capturing your story as it unfolds. This isn't just for yourself, but potentially for others who will need your roadmap. Second, identify one generational pattern you're ready to transform. Name it, understand its roots, and consciously choose a different path forward, knowing that healing one pattern creates ripples across generations. Third, create or join a community where authentic sharing is valued. Find space where you can both receive and offer healing through shared stories and experiences, extending your personal healing outward. These aren't just nice ideas, they're practical steps that can transform not just your life, but the lives of those around you. I'm reminded of the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold, creating something more beautiful and valuable than the original. The philosophy behind this art form suggests that breakage and repair are part of the history of an object rather than something to disguise. What if we approached our wounds the same way? Not as flaws to be hidden, but as golden seams that make us uniquely valuable, not as reasons to disqualify ourselves, but as the very qualifications that allow us to serve in ways no one else can. This is the message that resonated so deeply throughout my conversation with Sherita, that even broken wings can fly when faith and healing collide, that your voice, your healing, and your story still matter, perhaps more than you realize. So today, I challenge you to look at your wounds differently, not as something shameful to hide, but as something sacred to honor, not as a liability, but as your greatest asset, not as something that diminishes your worth, but as something that expands your capacity to contribute. The world doesn't need more perfect people pretending they have it all together. It needs more whole people who have done the work of transforming their wounds into wisdom, people who have alchemized their pain into purpose, people who have turned their broken wings into instruments of flight. Your brokenness is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of your impact. Your wounds are not just yours to bear, they're yours to transform. And in that transformation lies the potential to heal not just yourself, but generations to come. Will it be easy? No. Will it be worth it? Absolutely. So take that first step, write that first page, share that first story, join that first healing circle. Because somewhere out there, someone is waiting for the wisdom that only your particular wound can offer. Someone is waiting for the light that can only shine through your specific cracks. Your broken wings were always meant to fly, and the world is waiting for you to soar